Hello, welcome to the News Tech Makers, a podcast where we talk about at-scale application development, deployment, and management. And thanks for joining us today. This is Swapnil Bhartiya for the News Tech, and we are here at the Microsoft Connect event in the New York City. Today we are speaking with Joseph Sirosh, Corporate Vice President of Microsoft's Cloud AI platform, and we are going to talk about machine learning, artificial intelligence, and deep learning. We'll talk about how Microsoft is bringing all these technologies, all these capabilities to its customers, and we'll actually go beyond that, and we'll talk about how machine learning is helping solve real-world problems, how it's helping the medical community in detecting diseases like cancer. We will also talk about whether we should worry about artificial intelligence if there are going to be terminators roaming our streets. But before we get into all of that, it's time for introduction. Joseph, can you please introduce yourself?
Sure, happy to. Pleasure to be here. I'm Joseph Sirosh. I'm the Vice President of the Cloud AI platform at Microsoft.
What's your role there actually?
So I run the Cloud AI platform, which means the machine learning services available in the cloud, including Azure Machine Learning, cognitive services, the bot framework, and all of these capabilities for developers to build applications in the cloud with AI.
And what do you mean by machine learning? And let's not get into the science fictional definition where we look at machine learning and AI.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. See, machine learning is the latest frontier in artificial intelligence. It is about learning from data and being able to execute tasks without being programmed to do so. As an example, speech recognition. You can't write a program to do speech recognition the same way people normally write. What you do is learn from vast amounts of speech data to recognize what is in the sound and then be able to transcribe it, right? That is an application of machine learning. So these days, machine learning is being applied to so many different fields, from speech to translation to language understanding to even tasks like fraud detection, ad recommendations, and so on. So very powerful technology.
And what is the difference between machine learning, artificial intelligence, and deep learning? These are
so they're all very related. Mm-hmm. Artificial intelligence is a much broader term that has been around for a long time, much longer than the term machine learning itself. Machine learning is what is driving artificial intelligence today, though, because it's the power to learn from vast amounts of data, model it, and put that into action. That's very, very powerful. So machine learning is the subfield of artificial intelligence that has specifically got to do with learning from data and putting AI into production using learned models. And then deep learning is really a subfield of machine learning, where it is about using something called deep neural networks, which is ability to represent data much higher representative capacity. And that's a subfield of machine learning itself.
When we talk about machine learning, when I say we, I don't mean, it's really hard to define who is we, depending on who you talk to. We don't talk much about data, but here, databases, and they do play a big role. So can you talk about that,
Yeah, really, learning requires data. Mm-hmm. And so the incredible opportunity for enterprises today is to collect all of the data from their systems of record, right, into the cloud, then build a system of intelligence on top of it. So it draws upon data from CRM systems, from ERP systems, and other places. They build intelligent systems that might be used to interact with your customers, have great conversational bots, for example, or to detect fraud, or to detect spam, or improve efficiency in your organization in so many different ways.
And when you say data, because there are so many different databases, so what role do databases play there?
So databases is where the data is hosted and analyzed and operated upon. So if you, for example, SQL Server, the SQL Server database is behind a lot of enterprise applications. Data is recorded and stored there, and you can run queries to extract the type of data you want for machine learning to run on. And today, SQL Server even has the ability to have machine learning run inside the database engine. So you can operate right next to the data. So you bring in the best of data and AI together in one place.
And there are like so many different, you gave one example of SQL, SQL, and there are so many other databases. And nowadays Microsoft kind of supports, like today also at the event.
Yeah, in the cloud now, we are giving developers a huge choice. That choice is very important, right? From SQL Server databases to Cosmos DB to Postgres to MySQL to MariaDB, which was announced today, and then Databricks, which is Spark. It's not quite a database, but it is an analytical engine. So we want to have solutions for every developer out there and help them in their journey to building intelligent applications.
When you're using all these different databases, through under one big umbrella of Azure, what are the integration points? How are these integrated?
Well, so because they are services in the cloud, it's easy for a developer to switch between them or use multiple databases in one application. In fact, in the past, people used to have this belief, or generally application model, it was all around one database, right? You never used more than one database in general. But today, you can use one database for your transactions, another one for your analytics, and so on. So you may use multiple database services depending on their strength. And you may have copies of the data in different databases for different purposes, because different engines have different strengths.
Right.
And the cloud, by the way, the good thing is the cloud makes integration among all of these very easy, right? So these are hosted services in the cloud. You're gluing them together with code. And in fact, if you want to integrate data flows across multiple databases and other pipelines, we have services like Azure Data Factory that allows you to schedule movements of data, transform it, integrate it, cook it in different ways. So there's so many services available in the cloud, all right there as capabilities for you to just glue together.
And as Microsoft, once again under the Azure umbrella, supporting all these different open source community as well, whether it's MySQL or MariaDB or Databricks or Spark. Because it depends on who is the customer. Is it Microsoft customer through Azure, or the customer or somebody else who's just using Azure cloud, to run whatever workloads they want. So how involved is Microsoft with these different databases so that the machine learning capability that they offer? Do you know what I mean? Because you're still Microsoft. So how involved is Microsoft with those? Can you talk about that or not really?
So let me say it this way. Like once you are in the cloud, whatever databases you use, we have the ability to integrate that with AI. Okay. Today, you can bring data to Spark on HD Insight and apply machine learning on it at scale if you wanted. Today, you have with Azure SQL DB, you have the ability to run R code inside the database server right next to the database and deploy machine learning right there. You have SQL data warehouses in which you can take data from these multiple sources, cook them, aggregate them, and put Power BI and reports on top of it, pull that in Azure Machine Learning. I'm just giving you 3 examples of all these things that are there. The cloud has incredible flexibility.
No, my question was that since these are open source communities, so I'm talking about for the point of, like, you have joined the MariaDB Foundation, so either the code contribution or in a way, currency contribution. That's what are you involved with those? I mean, I'm sure you are involved.
Yeah, so Microsoft, if you look at by the number of contributions, is one of the largest open source contributors in the count, right? And so we are involved to varying degrees with every one of the major open source communities. And
that includes databases as well.
Yeah, and we then include their contributions in services in the cloud to bring it to developers and amplify them, right?
Exactly, yeah. So, that's that. Yeah. One thing that you mentioned earlier, it's happening in cloud. What new thing, not new thing, but what we are seeing is that a lot of processing, a lot of decisions are being made at the edge, at the device. And we saw a demo also where Miguel, he showed, that your phone is offline, but it can detect Apple and pineapple and everything.
Exactly.
So how is machine learning kind of capabilities moving to the edge devices?
Yeah, and I showed a similar demo in my keynote as well in my session, where we were taking a skin cancer data set, building a classification model for skin cancer versus normal skin, then deploying it on a mobile phone, and then you could actually at the live frame rate score over your skin. And So what you're going to see is the cloud being used for vast amounts of data being aggregated, then using GPUs and a huge amount of compute on the cloud to learn, and the learned models then being put into production on a phone or on the IoT edge, which we were talking about. Today we announced the AI toolkit for the IoT edge, for example. And so you then deploy and run them in the edge in a compliant way next to the data with low latencies, and it just runs blazing fast.
Right. You gave one example of the detecting
Skin cancer.
Yeah, something funny. My wife, it's very hard to find her. Every time they're drawing blood, they cannot find it. So there was an app where you can find where are the veins. So the doctor. What are the other real life use cases? Like one example that you gave, where machine learning will be kind of helping humanity in general.
Huge number. One of the things to look at is the Seeing AI app that we published recently. It helps every blind person use their mobile phone, recognize their environment, recognize objects, enabling blind person to see with the power of AI and a mobile phone. In my talk, I showed an example of this app called Help Picto, which helps autistic children communicate. And there's a very powerful story around it on the web as well. And then look at healthcare. There's enormous opportunities for AI to help us all in the field of healthcare. One of our partners, Epic, for example, has shown that you can predict hypertension up to 2 years in advance from electronic medical record data. And when you can predict your future risk of hypertension that far in advance, you can change your lifestyle. And that's very, very powerful. So now in the area of healthcare, researchers all over the world have shown so much power. For example, you can predict the risk of a heart attack, most chronic diseases. When you have data, you can do amazing things. In fact, in India, we have the Microsoft Intelligent Network for Eye Care, where we are collecting data in partnership with a lot of hospitals on various eye care situations. For example, LASIK surgery. You can predict the outcome of LASIK surgery, meaning what your vision is going to be a month after healing. And when you can actually predict the outcome, you can adjust the surgery ahead of time to ensure you have the perfect outcome. Lots more examples. In India, again, now we're using AI to screen for the risk of school dropout, kids dropping out of school. And the Andhra government has deployed it. And so when you know a kid is likely to drop out of class in school, you can now figure out a way to fix that, right? And keep the kids in school. They've got now also an application for farmers to predict when is the optimum time to sow crops, like in this case, groundnuts, we call peanuts, right? So what's the optimum time to sow peanuts to get the maximum output from the farm? And we did a test where in one growing season, half the farmers used the predictions, half the farmers didn't, and the ones that used the predictions got up to a 30% improvement in yield. It's very material for the farmer. So on and so forth. So everywhere, every place where there is some data and an opportunity to optimize something, we can apply AI. And that's the perhaps even the untold story of the huge benefits AI is going to bring to humanity overall.
Let's just talk about a boring part. As much as it's playing a big role, in real life scenarios. What I also see is that can it also help the stack of the cloud? There are different components within this. A lot of nowadays, not nowadays, but we do hear about automation, agile, processes. Can machine learning or AI also help? Because when you look at logging, you look at monitoring, you look at debugging. A lot of human element is involved, which can be automated to take all those things out.
It can absolutely be. It's actually being used already. For example, in Microsoft with Azure SQL DB, we have over 1.8 million, maybe 2 million databases in the cloud. So to monitor all of that, to understand the telemetry, to see if there is a database that is likely to have an outage or some server that is going to have a failure, we use AI behind the scenes. So from all the log data, we can detect the signatures of risk of an outage and flag it and either intelligently fix it by rebooting a machine, for example, as the simplest example. And that way you can self-heal. and it's very powerful.
Uh, what are the big? I mean, you talked about it's helping some where it's affecting the real life cases, and then it can help the whole stack itself. What are the areas or when you look at the machine learning roadmap from Microsoft, from your perspective, what are the areas where you still see there? Oh, these are the areas that are big challenges, and this is we have to address next, or there is still.
So I think there is a huge rate of progress that's happening in AI, making speech recognition better, making language understanding better. I think the conversational bots, for example, they're going to take a major leap in the next few years. It's becoming so powerful. That's going to be the way we get a lot of things done. And I think these are areas where there's lots of advances to be made. And then when you look farther out into the future, one of the things Microsoft is investing in a big way is quantum computing. And things like quantum computing are likely to change computing itself forever. And machine learning will be one of those applications of quantum computing that will be revolutionary.
Right. So are we going to see Terminators anytime soon? The thing with the artificial intelligence people talk about often is that once you really reach that, once you have power of quantum computing, and the machine learning from machine learning, can you really control AI, or who will be able to?
Well, so I think it's important.
Are you worried about that?
I am not, because of the following reason. Mm-hmm. Look, AI is actually a very scientific, statistical thing right now. It is not anywhere like intelligence. Mm-hmm. I say all artificial intelligence is dumb, but some artificial intelligence is useful. Mm-hmm. So I think AI is misinterpreted by the vast majority of people because they don't understand the technology.
Elon Musk, he criticized
right,
it
and
too.
I think again, understanding the technology immediately gives you a better feel for what it's capable of doing and what it is not. So it's really, at the end of the day, very basic algorithms that are in operation. I'm not afraid of it. I think if you think about AI, look, we don't even know how we remember. We can't even model memory today. We haven't cracked the nut on that. I haven't yet seen any AI that's able to walk like a human being or a creature that's not even intelligent. So I think life and AI are two distinct things. We are conflating the two because of an inadequate understanding of technology. Life has a survival instinct. It evolved in a very, very different way from AI that is actually a software program at the end of the day. I'm not afraid of it. I think AI is a technology like every other. It's like internet, mobile, and other things. And it's going to empower us all if used in the right way. And like in healthcare or in any of these applications, AI is going to help us be better humans and augment our capabilities and allow us to stand at a higher level and operate at a higher level as a civilization.
Yeah, that fear should not stop us from doing. I mean, we still don't
any
have
more
flying.
than it stopped us from using electricity or
kitchen knife, for example. Yeah, because the advantages of using machine learning capabilities, that overweights whatever the possible threats that are there. Anything else that you think is kind of? I mean, we can just talk about forever.
I know, but I think look, all software is going to be AI-infused software.
Yes.
It is going to be a core component of software development. So my call would be for every developer to get on this bandwagon, right? Understand AI, especially cloud-based AI, which has got unique power by bringing all the benefits of the cloud to AI, and start taking advantage of it and make software development, intelligent and emotive, and not just sterile applications of today. Make them provide great experiences. Able to have conversations in natural ways, able to understand you, able to reason. So you will get, I think, a completely different behavior in software when you use these algorithms and capabilities, and that will be very, very exciting.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate this conversation, and I'm a science fiction writer, so I can talk about AI and machine learning forever.
Yeah, I know. This is super exciting. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Listen to more episodes of the News Tech Makers at thenewstack.io/podcast. Please rate and review us on iTunes, like us on YouTube, and follow us on SoundCloud. Thanks for listening and see you next time.